business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is the invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day to make a powerful impact on others. My guest today, boy, she's going to light you up. Ton of energy here. You're going to be motivated. You're going to be challenged. And more importantly, you're going to walk away with tools that inspire action both in your life, in the lives of others. But before we dive in, here's your homework. How are you going to serve yourself? How are you going to serve others today? Not tomorrow, but today. Doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes. Let's discover how servant leadership in business can create ripple effects that last far beyond the bottom line. And a big thanks to my sponsor, Epic Impact, the storytelling system that helps you message, connect, and convert. It's just 4 steps. I can engage, I can persuade, I can inspire, I can close with clarity. I use it every day for all my messages, and it's blown up my business. Try it free at epicimpact.ai with code STEVE. Change your message, change your results. And I'm excited to announce that we just hit over 800 podcast episodes, but we hit top 20 in small business marketing. Thanks to you, audience, and you guests, including my guest today. We're making that impact. Let's continue doing that. With that being said, let's jump right in. Star, welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
Thank you, Steve. I'm excited to be here.
Why is speaking so important to you?
Why is speaking so important to me? As a woman who spent multiple decades muting my voice, hiding my light, trying to play small so that other people will feel comfortable, I know what it is like to not make the impact that I was born to make. And so now I am on a mission to empower others, especially women, to reclaim those voices, to master their messages, and to speak on every stage with confidence and clarity, to own every stage they take every time they speak.
How do they unmute their voice, a woman?
How does a woman unmute their voice? I believe that there are 3 stories by which we run our lives, Steve. 3 stories. The first story is the cover story, right? That's the story that we tell the world. That's the story that we put on social media. That is a good story. Business is going well. My children are behaving themselves and life is good. But we all know that's not the real story. And that is the other story, is the real story. That's what's really going on. You are frustrated. You are tired. Business sucks. And the kids have lost their ever-loving minds. That's the real story. And we don't really share that story so much, except with our inner circle, right? But then we have the most important, the most insidious story of all. And that is our backstory. This is a silent story that was created in pain, created in survival mode, that helped protect us during a certain time of our lives. But that protection has now become a prison. It is the story that says that we are unable, that we are unworthy, that says that we can't do the things that we want to do. The backstory drives our lives, and we don't even know it. Most people don't even know it. So how do I help women reclaim their voices? The first thing we have to do is identify. We have to identify that backstory. What is the story that is holding us back? What is the story that is imprisoning us? We identify that story. We rewrite that story, and then we can begin to reclaim the voice.
So she has a backstory that's incredibly traumatic, whatever that is. They're afraid to speak it. How do we get them to put their voice out there? Like, I don't want to be associated with that backstory.
How do we get there? Okay, So
Because they're not going to tell that story. The problem is, Star, it's too traumatic. How do we get them to tell that story?
exactly. So there's certain stories that we can't tell because we are still, as Brene Brown says, we are still bleeding from that story. So we're not going to tell that story. But there are some stories that there is, I think she says, you share from the scar and not from the wound, right? When it is a scar, meaning it is healed, it is easier to tell that story. But when I work with people, Steve, we're not going to go for the jugular immediately. I'm not going to jump in and say, you've got to tell the most horrible, most graphic part. No, no, because we're not trying to trauma dump on the universe. But I think the most important thing, and the thing that I work on with women, is let's find the lesson. Because what your husband did to you is not really the story. What happened, that's not really the story. The real part of the story is what you learned from it and what you've done since. That is the important part of the story.
What should be, and I love this, I just wrote down scar, not the wound. That's a powerful message that you put out there. And men too. I mean, it's, you work with women, but it's powerful for men. What's a goal for a woman speaker when they jump on that stage? What's their first goal?
Their first goal, I believe, is to just understand where they are coming from. When I work with my students, we start with what I call your map, right? Your map is your message, your audience, your purpose. I believe before you jump up and before you open your mouth, you should have a map. A map is going to tell you where you're going so that you can take your audience to that destination. Too often, speakers get up without a map and they are all over the place, all over the place. It's like if I wanted to take 5-year-olds to a mall that I've never been to, I'm trying to find the Lego store and I don't have a map. Right? Trying to corral those children. That one's hungry. That one has to go to the bathroom. And weren't there 5 children? That is what we do to our audience when we don't have a clear map. And so I believe the first thing that the most important thing that a woman needs or needs to know is where she is going with that audience, who that audience is, what they need, and what we're trying to give them, what we want that audience to walk away with. That is the most important thing. And when we focus there, we take the focus off ourselves and it reduces anxiety and worry. Because it's not about, the first thing I'm thinking about is how cute I look. And are they going to like me? And does this dress look good on me? All these things that are about me. How do I sound? How do I look? Do they think I'm smart? All of that just drives anxiety. The first thing is, what am I trying to share? What is the impact that I'm trying to make on this audience?
I like that because, yeah, people talk all the time. Hey, do I look good? You could be in a tank top and a bikini, and yeah, they may look at it a little bit, but if you've got content that's value, they don't even know what you're wearing. I could think of speakers. I'm thinking, I can't tell you what they're wearing. I can tell you what they told me. It's exactly what you're saying. It's beautiful. Exactly. It's beautiful. Own your stage. I've heard that phrase before. Different descriptions. What's your description of that?
To own your stage is to show up with clarity and confidence. Here's the deal. I believe that every time you speak, it is a performance, and every place you speak is a stage. Unfortunately, many people are not giving the performances they want on the stages they take. They are unsure. They're not making a connection with their audience. They are rambling. They are all over the place. They are not owning that stage. So to own the stage means to be clear on what you have to say, to deliver it with power, and to connect with your audience, to give the best performances you can on every stage you take. What does that mean? That means if I am on a stage in front of 2,000 people, I'm going to give my best performance. But if I'm having a one-on-one conversation, I am also going to give my best performance. That too is my stage. If I am a doctor in that exam room, that is my stage. If I'm a teacher in front of these children, that is my stage. If I am having a one-on-one conversation with the love of my life, that is my stage. And I want to be able to communicate with clarity and confidence on every stage.
Love that, because you're right. We're talking stages. Like selling, we're always selling all the time. Same thing with presence. And speaking of presence, that own your stage leads to that commanding presence.
That's
We have a
exactly
message.
what it is.
Right. So tell us how important that is, because I've got a message to say, and I want everybody to hear it. Commanding presence got to be there.
Commanding presence is there. So I have a talk called Own Your Stage, Lead with Presence, Speak with Power, and Inspire Action. And that is really what I believe that Own Your Stage is. And the first part is to lead with presence. And what is presence? Presence is the way, it's the way you show up. It's the way you walk into a room. I had a client and she was in the military. She showed me a video of a talk that she had given. She's in her fatigue. She's sitting in a chair. She's holding onto a picture of her son, talking about how difficult it was to leave him during deployment. It was, lovely. It was nice, but it was not memorable. She had the opportunity to speak in front of 1,500 people. So she came to me for coaching, and we changed everything. I invited her to wear her dress blues, medals shining, cap crisp, the skirt, the heels. And instead of coming up from the side of the stage like all the other speakers did, I had her come from the back of the room and not walk, Steve. I had her march, like they march. I had her march up, do her little 2-point turn, get up to the stage and salute. Standing ovation. Standing ovation. She hasn't even spoken. That is presence. And you don't have to walk into a room of 1,500 people, but every time you walk into a room, you want to have that kind of confidence. You want to have that kind of command, like you belong there. You're walking like you own it because you own that stage.
You brought the military in, so you're opening a can of worms here. Good worms. These are good worms. So voice and leadership. Talk a lot about on this podcast, leadership, but not a lot about voice. What's the bridge there?
Here's the deal, and this is the other part of presence. Part of presence is that physical, how you come out. But where does the physical come from? Where does the energy come from? It comes from who you are. It comes from your belief system, and it comes from, first of all, your values. What are your values? For any leader, you want to have a strong voice, you need to know what your values are. And I'm not just talking aspirational values. My values are family and faith, except you never go to church and you never see your family. Those aren't your values. Let's be real. Yeah. We have these aspirational values, but what is really important to you? Take a look at your phone. That's going to tell you who's important to you. Who you're talking to. Look at your Netflix account. That's going to tell you where your values are. So it starts with your value, what's important to you. And you don't want to just know your values. You want to live your values. When your outside reflects your inside, then you command presence. You command leadership. But that is where it begins. And that is where your voice comes from, your values. Your voice comes from how you value others. That's going to determine how you show up, how you speak to them. What do you believe it's possible for others? And how important is that to you? All of that comes into a leader's voice. And it's also the way you communicate, speaking with power, meaning you know what the heck you're talking about. You deliver it with enthusiasm and you get to the point. That's very important with leadership.
Amen to that. Yeah. Don't drag on. That's going to bore people. And when you got them bored and they'll never come back, they're gone. See you later.
It's the 5 children in the mall.
Right. So women lead, people listening are going, God, I'm fired up about speaking. I've never spoke before. I'm a woman. What's my first step?
I'm going to say your first step is to get a coach. I'm going
That's
to say
fine. That's good.
your first step is to get guidance. There are a lot of people who feel, I've gone through this trauma, I have a story and I want to share it with the world, and they're doing more harm than good because their stories are just what happened. I had a client, her name was Angel, and Angel had gone through some abuse as a child, and people would ask her to share her testimony, and she would share all of the graphic details of what happened to her. The audience would be in shambles. She would be broken down for days after, but she kept sharing because she wanted it to do good. It was not doing the good she wanted it to do. And then I worked with her and we moved past the story, because what happened to you, I swear, that is this much of the story. This much of the story is what happened. What's more important is, what did you do from there? How did you learn to forgive? You have built this beautiful life where you're a successful businesswoman, and you have a lovely family. That's the part. That's the part we care about. But she didn't know because no one told her that that is not the story.
Yeah, that's powerful. Wow, that's big. Okay, so we've got women out there listening. They want to speak. What is there an organ, a map? Told us map. A map again is what? I think it's
Message, audience, purpose.
Okay. So they develop that. Where do they find speaking gigs?
So that, of course, is not the next step.
No,
and we'll talk about that. So, segue. In my program, Own Your Stage, we go through 5 phases to get to that place where you are able to get your speaking gigs, right? The first place is, of course, to create the map. We've got to start there. But the next thing is to craft the story, right? What is the story? What are we trying to get people to feel, when we tell our stories? Once we get our story intact, we need to connect that to some content. We need to craft your talk. What you gonna be talking about, right? We need to know that. And it doesn't have to be, to begin, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we need to know what we're talking about. And then we talk about how to captivate the audience. Once you have your talk together, what are the engagement techniques you're going to utilize to keep your audience engaged? Because words alone are not going to make it fly, right? We have to connect with them emotionally. So how do we captivate the audience? And then the last part of that is closing the sale. Because like you said, we're always selling. It's always a sale, whether you're trying to get them to buy into your program or your services, or you might be trying to get them to buy into a concept, into an idea, right? Earlier today, you sold me on having a podcast, right? You sold me. We are always in that process of selling, but how do we do it so that people actually take action, right? So that is the whole process. And then the question is, all right, then, I've got my talk together. I know what I'm doing. How do I get the gigs? There are so many opportunities for speaking. And if a person is new at speaking, I'm going to invite them not to go for the $10,000 keynote. I'm just going to invite them to not do that.
Great advice. Great advice.
There are so many places to speak for free. The Association of something, the Women's Association of yada, 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 in the town of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You're going to find 2,700 of those. And they're having weekly meetings and they are looking for speakers, right? Things like this, the podcast, excellent idea, because you know what this is? This is practice. That's what it is, right? It is getting your words out. It is expressing who you are, but you want the opportunity to do that where it's low stakes. I'm going to speak in front of 25 people. That's not going to hurt my feelings. So for a lot of people who are new, those are the things that I'm suggesting. What associations are you involved in? They're going to need speakers. Volunteer. Go to places where there are speakers and say, hey, I'm a speaker. I'd love to share, but here's the deal. Here's the deal. We're not approaching people with, I'm a speaker and I have a fabulous talk. We're not doing it that way. What we're doing is, I'm a speaker and I notice that your members need X, Y, and Z. Here's the value that I can offer to your members. Here's how I can be of service to you. That's how we approach it. And that's just the first way of doing it. And I'm telling you, when you do it and you do it well, it leads to other opportunities. It will lead to clients, and it will lead to more confidence every time you speak on every stage you take.
Yeah, every pro athlete practices. Yeah.
Yes. And then, of course, there is, doing your research on Google, looking for calls for speakers, finding out if you go to like these big events, they pay for speakers, right? And finding out who is that person who's doing the selection. It's a progression. You don't, unless, of course, you're a celebrity, you don't jump out there and immediately command rooms of 10,000. Not immediately. But there's a progression to it.
Yeah, unless you know unless you know somebody, and that's very rare itself.
You know someone, those people who are in corporate and they have high-level positions, they have lots of contacts. That's an easier way, right? And then it's going to be about who you know, talking to people, letting them know I have this service that I'm offering, because they already know you, they already trust you, and they will give you a chance.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, coming to the end here, I get asked this all the time. What's better, live or virtual speaking?
What's better?
I don't like the question, but I wanted to ask you because this is your expertise, and it's.
You know what?
I have my thoughts, but
live is better. Live is better. Ooh, live is good because you can feel the energy in the audience. You can see all those faces, and when you say raise your hand, it's like you could see a sea of them. And here's the deal. When you're speaking or when I'm speaking and I say something, that audible community, ooh, that's good stuff. When you see the those are the moments that I absolutely love, and it's different live, and I get to play with the audience when it's live. I love live. Now, virtual has its own benefits, right? I love it. I mean, I believe I still bring a energy and enthusiasm, and I still make jokes, and I still, even if their cameras are off, I'm going to tell them to raise their hand, because I'm just going to do that. And so there is a joy to it. I don't have to leave my house. That's always nice, and it's just more controlled. So it's good. It's good. But given my druthers, I would rather be on stage live in front of people. Yeah. I can talk and squeeze and all of that.
Yeah, I've done live podcasts, and it's definitely different. The energy in person, sitting across from someone. You're absolutely right, night and day. Don't dissuade the virtual. If somebody, because people ask me, can you speak? I'll speak to any group virtual. But if you want to make money and grow and sell your bit, live is always going to be the way. It's just the opportunities aren't out there. Well, we've come to the end. You've been a blessing. I've got a quick question for you. So I've reserved a reservation at a restaurant, a table of 4. We're going to play here a little bit. So you're going to sit in one of the chairs. You got 3 empty chairs. Who are you going to invite, whether they're dead or alive, to talk to get to know, to learn from? Some mentor, somebody you've always followed. But more importantly, what food would you order for the table?
So Maya Angelou, absolutely. Michelle Obama, I would do that. And Jim Rohn.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those would be my people. maybe Brian Tracy instead of Jim Rome. I don't know.
We can add both of them. It's your table. Let's make it 4.
And what would I order? What would I order? Well, first of all, I would make sure that I ordered things that are dairy-free and gluten-free. Thank you very much. So that I could eat a few things. But there would be, I would say meats and cheeses, but I don't eat cheese. But there would be finger foods, right? Like there'd be sweet potato French fries because I like that. There would be maybe assorted meats, and then there would be vegetables so that my vegetarian friends would be able to eat as well. And I don't know if those 4 people are vegetarians, but vegetables are good. That's what it would be. There wouldn't be any pork on the table.
That's your table. They got to eat what you're bringing. That's why it's your table. So I love that. Well, you're a blessing. Your energy's off the charts. But you know, more importantly, you have a big heart to help people. And you're truly a servant's heart. I know women listening, and maybe some men who have a wife that might want to reach out to you. How can they connect with you?
They can connect with me by going to connectwithstar.com. I try to make it easy. Connectwithstar.com. Connectwithstar.com. And that's going to give them a list of all the things that I am up to. I have upcoming training on November 8th in the DMV area. They'll get information regarding that. They'll be able to get on my mailing list. They'll be able to get on my calendar. Get on my calendar. I would love to have a one-to-one with you. And so connectwithstar.com is the best way to connect with me.
Thank you so much. This has been much bigger than I thought I knew it would be. An audience, here's your homework at the end. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. To me, podcasts are gifts. And Stars is a perfect example. You're at a birthday party this weekend. They're talking about, I have a great story I want to tell. Hello, send them Stars podcast. They get to listen to her for 10, 15 minutes, learn about her. Maybe it's not a fit. That's okay. You're still giving it, but a lot of times it is. And they reach out and sign up with her or connect with her, book a time. You just changed their lives. Isn't that what gifts are all about? And by the way, it doesn't have to be my podcast. Anybody, if Star starts a podcast, whoever, subscribe to that podcast and get those links. And when you get good ones that resonate with people around you, share it. We're not doing that enough, and I hope people do more of that. So with that being said, me and Star want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Thanks, Star. Have a great day.
Thank you.